Hey there friends, Jay Paulides, CanAm Missing Project, copyrighted edition for our video page. And Huck's here, she's doing well, she's been playing, she's all happy. Dad, give me some love, give me some love. Good girl. Well, we had somebody send us in something very interesting, and I want to get your feedback on it. See what you think. Since we are talking about Huck, what do you think? Don't Huck with America. Flag, CanAm missing. Well, I gotta tell you, people that know me well know I'm big on America, big on bald eagles, big on Huck. So I appreciate the viewer that sent that in. That's very good. And we're going to get going on this today, right now. So it's been a long time since I read letters. I still get hate mail about it. I don't care. And to the people who don't like the letters, don't leave. I want you to listen to this. The letters are not for entertainment. The letters for understanding and education. If you're not entertained, I don't care. But I have learned a lot from the letters. And I think we can learn a lot more from these. It's been a while since I read any. Now, we're going to go to a missing person report in a little bit, but I'm going to read you a few letters here. And these have been accumulating for a while. I've been waiting for the optimum time to read them. And here we go. If you don't like it, go, leave. Don't send me any notes saying I don't like the letters. I don't care. And the reason I don't care is because I see the value. I see the value in these. If you don't, then you probably shouldn't be here. I don't want to be rude. You're appreciated. But then you misunderstand what we're all about. I'm here to figure this conundrum out of missing people. So, first letter. Dave, the work you're doing is fantastic. The information needs to be brought to light, and you're doing a phenomenal job putting these events together. Don't let the letter agency's stonewalling discourage you. Sorry if this email is too long, but I tried to keep it short. Came across your work recently after talking to a truck driver about a strange event that took place while she was driving out west. Now, if you haven't read or if you haven't watched the Trucker series or the Amnesia series, you need to go do that. That way, you would understand why this may be important. As this is a second-hand telling, I have a few details that may be a little off, but I can give you the gist of the encounter. In her account, she described, this is a female truck driver, a yellow or orange sphere of light that approached the truck from her passenger side. She said the truck just died as this light approached. The truck was dead and her electronics went dead as well, she said. Nothing worked. She said the next thing she remembered was her driving partner yelling at her from the truck to stay away from that light. She said she awoke to find herself out on the road, walking towards this ball of light in a seemingly daze. She was in a freezing cold rain with no jacket on, having no recollection of the last 10 or 15 minutes. After getting back in the truck, the light left and the truck came back to life. She said she hates to think what would have happened had it not been for her having another driver in the truck. I'm sure I can get her contact information if you'd like to hear the full telling of the encounter. What brought the conversation up was we were talking about suppressed technologies and plasma physics. And I was describing to her how I had stumbled upon some really strange anomalies during some energy research that I had done back in the early and mid-2000s. The long story short is, I eventually came to believe that certain forms of electrical magnetic fields and associated plasmas are part of a suppressed quantum physics. Stop there. Quantum physics is an accepted form of science. If you've come to Bigfoot talks that I've been involved in, we talk about quantum physics. How others don't want to talk about it, but it's imperative that we do, because a lot of the answers for what's confusing us are there. This type of physics is apparently being used by black projects and may date back to the turn of the 20th century from the research of notable scientists like Tesla, Steinmetz, Townsend Brown, Paperclip, and many others. These magnetic plasmas can affect electrical circuits, alter our perception of time, possibly even shield observers from space-time itself. The magnetic fields involved could potentially alter memory, or potentially could be involved in more esoteric effects. Now, for dozens and dozens of years, people have reported that their cars die when a UFO approaches. If you remember the X-Files, they talked about this, and they showed it, reenacted it, so that you could see how it affected them. Now, I've spoke to a lot of people about this, including first responders. And yes, first responders I've interviewed have stated that their entire rig went dead when a Bigfoot crossed in front of it. I believe from my observations that some of these plasma effects are natural, while others may be induced through technological means. I'm certainly not suggesting that all these 411 cases are due to this phenom, but a few may possibly have a correlation in some way, whether by UFO phenomena, natural geological, or by man-made technology. I wanted to ask you if you have encountered reports of strange blasts of light that seem to emanate from nowhere, balls of blinding light from a distance, hemisphere light emanating from the ground, or just a blinding light if you happen to be inside the phenomenon when it occurs. This light is not accompanied by any sound, but is blinding. Or alternatively, have you encountered any observations of balls of plasma type light or heat like shimmering being observed from any of your 411 cases? No. Never have. Have I heard of ball lightning? Sure. Have I heard of flashes of light in conjunction with strange orbs in the sky? Yes. My family, friends, and myself have witnessed these flashes on a number of occasions. And from all three of the above-mentioned viewpoints, as a result, I began to theorize that some of what we're observing was a geological phenomenon, as I lived right next to a mountain and a stream at the time, while some other effects witnessed may potentially be technology-driven. Just curious as to whether or not you have encountered these flashes of light, and if so, what are the particular circumstances? Thanks for all you do. Keep up the good work. I don't know if this is information or not that could help. As I stated, no. But I think you need to take our Bigfoot class online right here on our channel. 20 classes. It's a long class. It's like a college level class. Because it'll open up your paradigm as to what you may think is experiencing. Just saying. Next letter. It's out of North Carolina, this one. Really enjoyed your most recent video. I wanted to tell you of an experience at Siskiyou Lake, North Carolina. Friday, March 24th, 2017 at 11:52 in the morning. I still have a pic of a trout beside my shoe in the boat. Just moments after this sighting in my phone, I was trolling for trout. I've fished several of the lakes in this area since the 80s. Siskiyou has only one launch. The water feeding it comes from the bottom of Fontana. And one July 4th, I fished Siskiyou and the water temp was in the mid-40s. There is a place within sight of the power station where each time I drift by, an old dead snag will fall, making a crashing sound. Even the times I take someone with me, it happens. This is on the opposite side of the highway. On the day of this sighting, I was looking up through the woods and there was a trail with a clear view up some rock ledges. I saw what looked like a blur. It stopped near the ledges. I was thinking that as the boat drifted by a beech tree, I would have a second to grab a phone and make a pic. The beach is at the edge of the lake. The being, about 6 feet tall and covered with hair, but not dirty like I hear some people say. This thing was clean. The hair short, and the black was like a bear's color. The black absorbed the light and almost created the appearance of a hole. This look it gave seemed to convey, "Don't mess with me." The beech tree only blocked the view for a second, and during that time it had either laid down or went into one of the rock ledges there. I continued to fish, and nearly jumped out of my skin when a moment later I hooked up. It was difficult to reconcile what had just occurred. Many times I had stayed in Robbinsville and had gotten to know several people there. A lady who cleaned the rooms, her mother owned the motel and restaurant, was married. I talked to her husband and we planned to fish sometime, maybe over our next trip. When I suggested Chioa or a little lake below it, Calderwood, he lost interest. I asked his wife later what the deal was and she replied, "He won't talk about it." Another time I was over there in the early morning to launch and there was a nice motorhome parked there. A man came out and asked me if I had been pecking at their home, as they had very little sleep because of it. I assured him that I had no desire to be shot, and he stated because of some of the areas they frequented, he wasn't armed. I still fished there, but would not get on that side of the lake if the boat was sinking. Many thanks for your patriotism and attention to the missing. Okay. North Carolina. Very strange place, especially eastern North Carolina. And the only thing I could tell you is water again, lots of water, and these encounters will continue. Now this one goes back to science again. I've been struggling with how or who to share this information with. The truth is that understanding UFO propulsion will fundamentally alter your understanding of the universe itself, forever, to a degree that can induce psychosis and cognitive disruption. I am thus reluctant to share this information. However, I've come to the conclusion that no one else can make the breakthrough in understanding physics that I did, so it's part of my life purpose to share the information. The simple explanation involves understanding two concepts: the concept of client-server architecture and the issue of cheating in video games. If you would like, consider these subjects and see if you can put together the pieces for yourself. When you are ready to read a simplified version of my answer, scroll down. Here is the answer, as hard as it is to believe. Okay, put this on pause, go grab a coffee, hot chocolate, almond croissant, put your feet up in the chair, indulge, and listen to this. We live in what amounts to a computer simulation. This is oversimplifying things, but the concept will suffice. In this simulation, as with all computer simulations, there's a problem of players being able to cheat. This is due to the fundamental problem that computer programs have no ability to discern truth from fiction. Thus, it is possible to lie to computer programs and give them any input that is desired, and the program will have to act accordingly, taking the input at face value. Our universe works in the same manner. If you lie to it, in effect, cheating at the video game, then you can make the universe do whatever you like. This explains UFO propulsion. The aliens are simply cheating at the video game. They give the universe whatever input they like for their craft's coordinates, and the craft appears there instantly. In the video game context, this amounts to speed hacking and teleportation. In other words, it's actually a trick question. How does UFO propulsion work? There's no propulsion mechanism. The craft is where the pilots desire it to be at any given space and time. In essence, aliens alter the page tables of the universe's database. This also explains psychic phenomena. and has spiritual implications. How can a person know things that they shouldn't physically be able to, like with remote viewing? In effect, they are granted access to the universe's database that contains all the information that defines every object in the universe. Direct access to this database then provides whatever knowledge the seeker would like. Any desired knowledge is, in effect, only a memory address lookup away. I came to this realization as a consequence of studying many fundamental aspects of the universe. If you look at the universe as an engineering problem to solve, like designing a video game, then if you have certain logical rules that govern the design, such as free will or non-predetermined player input, then indeed all universes that are based on this rule and set must be designed this way. Incidentally, the concepts of relativity and quantum mechanics are the error-checking mechanisms that the universe employs to maintain the coherence of the world simulation. Well, I told you these would be good. Now, I've heard a lot of people say that they think we're living in a computer simulation. I don't know. If it's someone's simulation, then who's governing us? Who's watching over us? Is that God? I've used before with you the ant farm scenario. We are the ant farm, and whenever the people that monitor our farm need DNA, etc., they just come down and pluck it out and use it. Is that the computer simulation? Or could that be just some sort of close-knit application of the computer simulation scenario? I don't know. But there's some things that we need to talk about today. There's a new case. It's an older case, but a case I've never talked about before. Ever. Far southern Oregon, right near the California border, in an area that is very wild. A little boy, 19 months old, named William Glaspie Jr., went missing June 18th, 1952. He lived with his mom, his dad, his brothers, sisters in a lumber mill community on Thompson Creek, 30 miles southwest of Grants Pass, Oregon. I've been through this area. Even today, it's really remote. Nothing out there. Back then, 70 years ago, holy cow. Must have been very, very wild. This region is considered the Siskiyou Mountains, which goes from Northern California all the way up through Southern Oregon. And the area has a lot of UFO and Bigfoot sightings. A lot. Just south of there, this is where Hoopa, California was, kind of southwest, where I spent 2 years. So I know it pretty darn well. Now, on June 18th, William, 19 months old, was playing with his brother, sister, and kids in the community that were in the lumber mill, including cousins. And he was in the process of recovering from the flu. Keep that in mind. The kids were playing on a bridge over Thompson Creek next to the mill and next to their homes. About 1 p.m., Mrs. Glaspie calls out to the kids, "Hey, I've got a candy treat for you guys, come on in." And everybody starts running towards the house. Except William. She passes out the candy to the kids, asks everybody, "Where's William?" Nobody had seen him. Last saw him on the bridge. She runs over there, fearing that William had fallen into the creek. Gets other families to help. They're looking through the water. It's deep enough to conceal a young boy. And the request is made by the Glaspies to summon people from the mill. Well, at about 10:30, they contacted the local U.S. Forest Service guard station, which was in the community. And they immediately got the mill to bring tractors over and divert the creek into the mill pond so they could search the creek bed for a possible body. Yeah, that would be a dismal search. Now, this happened in June. In June, water levels are still pretty high in this area, and still a lot of runoff. Water's really cold. And their focus was on two things: him being in the water and him walking over the bridge. But something I want you to think about. How many kids that you know would not run for candy, right? And then he's recovering from the flu, doesn't have much energy. But as all the kids run away towards the house, he's left alone. Point of separation. On water over a creek. And this is a cluster zone on my maps. This is not part of the cluster on the map because this is a newer case that we found. So they got 75 people from the mill after lunch and from the community that are searching the woods, the forest, everything. This is where they were playing over Thompson Creek. This is Cave Junction, a very, 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 very unusual place. A lot of strange things. California border. Syed Valley, Clear Creek, Cottage Grove. Clear Creek, many Bigfoot sightings that I've responded to over the years. Hoopa would be right over in this area right here. I can tell you folks for an absolute fact, this area is highly, highly unusual. There's nothing in here. Very little through here. Okay? So at about 4 o'clock, the mill shift is going off. And all of the mill workers wanted to get off early and go help search, and they all go over to the Glaspie house. And by this time, they had requested additional assistance from Jefferson and Josephine County Sheriff's Office, and they had arrived. And between them and the Forest Service, they were organizing search teams that were now up to 200 people to search different portions of the creek bed, the sides of the creek, the forest on the other side of the bridge. They were all over, calling the names of William. Where are you? What's going on? I'll tell you, people were pretty baffled. Again, he wasn't all healthy. They searched until late at night, and people were concerned. This was an area with bears and mountain lions. And a 19-year-old really isn't going to be able to get away from them. A 19-month-old is going to put off some very strong odors from that diaper. So June 19th, the next morning, mill workers don't go to work. They shut down the mill, and all of them respond to the Glaspie home. 200 people. They set up the search zone. They didn't find anything in the creek the day before. So his body wasn't in there. It hadn't got washed away because the creek didn't have that ability. So the entire area of southern Oregon by this time had heard that William was missing. And people were asked to keep their eyes out for him. And they kept pushing out further and further on the search. Now, 3 miles south of where William disappeared, through very rugged forest, Mr. and Mrs. Bud Turnbow were walking, just taking early morning jaunt, early morning, 9 o'clock. They weren't searching. They had heard about a boy that was missing, but they didn't really know much about it. They stated that as they're walking through the woods near Thompson Creek, again, just 3 miles southwest of where William disappeared, on a ridge above the creek, they hear a sound. And they stated that it sounded like a fawn, baby deer, or a very small child. And they said it was loud enough that it got their attention, so they moved towards the sound. And they see a young boy laying on the ground, looked like he had just woke up and maybe had been crying. Well, being the good people that they were, Mr. and Mrs. Turnbow decide that they're going to take this baby to their home and get him back to the community that they think that he was from. They stated that he had scratches over his entire body. Stop for a second. I hear this a lot on Kids in the Woods. I think some people want you to believe that the kids are just running helter-skelter through the woods and get scratched up everywhere. I don't think so. I don't think William was even well enough to do that. How many 19-month-olds do you know that could get 3 miles through heavy woods and avoid bears, mountain lions, rattlesnakes, and the creek that he was found next to? So he's taken to Medford Hospital, quite a distance away, after he was given to the parents. They described him as decent condition. He said nothing. Now, he's not found by search and rescue. This is another point that happens on many of these kids. It's almost as though an alert is made for somebody in the area, just like this older couple that found him. A sound is made, something to alert them to this child. But there's no searchers around. He's found near water. Somehow he evaded 200 searchers. And you have point of separation. And he's in a cluster zone. Now, this is a picture of William and William. He was a junior. This is a picture of his dad. This is after he was found and released by Medford Hospital. To say that William was a lucky little boy does not even begin to explain how unusual this was. 95% of all kids 2 years old and younger are found in 2 miles or less from the point they were last seen. He was at least 3 miles away in heavy woods. Now I want you to think about this. Again, that area I explained to you is mega wild. And there's hardly anything out there in 1952. And he just happens to be in the right path for this couple to walk up on. Almost a miracle. And he happens to be of the age where he's not speaking yet, so he can't tell you what happened. But the story does have a happy ending. They found him. He survived. And I know you guys don't like unhappy endings, so there you go. Now, I appreciate you being here, and I want you to know that I'm not going to be reading letters all the time, so don't send me a lot of hate mail. Again, I'm not going to read it. I'm just going to dump it, just like you guys have told me to do. And Huck's laying here going, Dad, I like my picture. Remember, the kindness revolution. Be kind to people. Do something outside the box that maybe you wouldn't normally do. See somebody in distress, stop and help them. I greatly appreciate you being here. I can only speak for the United States. I feel blessed that I was born here. I feel truly blessed. I think about the other places in the world where my soul could have went, and I don't know why I was so lucky. Thank you for being here. In whatever country you're in, you are appreciated very much. Be safe. Be kind. Paulides out.